What is IL equal to ISC equal to IE? How they are related? In case of series motor, yes,
All are equal.
all are equal. Means load current is equal to series field current ISC. This ISC gives us the important working flux for the machine or the motor, and this is also equal to what? Armature current, because all they are in the same direction. Okay, so load current equal to series field current, that is equal to armature current, and this ISC gives us the flux. If IA is equal to ISC, then I can also say that armature current is also going to give us the flux in this case. Okay, now let us see the explanation here. Flux produced by the winding depends on the MMF. Yes or no? Flux, it is dependent upon the MMF, because MMF is what? What is that? Magnetomotive force, which is a product of current and number of turns. So this flux, which is nothing but the magnetomotive force MMF, this is nothing but what? It is the product of N into I, number of turns, into current that is flowing through the field winding. So this I is nothing but the ISC here, and N is what? Number of turns of the series field winding, this case, this part. Okay, so these are the number of turns, and the current flowing through this is, that is I. So if I want to increase the flux, then this flux, it is dependent on current that is flowing through the field winding and the number of turns of the field winding. Okay, so flux can be changed either by changing the current by adding resistance, or by changing the number of turns of the winding. So how we can change the flux here? So here, in order to change the speed of the DC series motor, we are changing the flux here, and this flux, it is nothing but what? Product of number of turns into current through the field winding. So in order to change this flux, either I can change the current through the field winding by adding the rheostat, or else I can change the number of turns. This, by doing this, we are going to change the pi value. By changing the pi value, we are going to change the speed, because N is directly proportional to EB by pi. N is directly proportional to EB by pi. So here, flux pi, it is what? It is dependent on speed. How there it is dependent? Inversely proportional. Okay, let us study the various methods on this principle. So the first one is flux control method. Again, in the flux control method, there are many methods to control the flux in order to control the speed of DC series motor. Okay, let us see. Various methods of the flux control in a DC series motor are explained below. So there are many methods in order to change the flux by which we can control the speed of the motor. The first one here is field diverter method. So here, this field diverter method, it is part of the flux control method only. It is part of the flux control method. So here you can see, this is the DC series motor, where armature, it is in series with the field winding, and this motor, it is given input supply voltage. And what is the title here? Field diverter method. Field diverter method means what? Here you need to connect one rheostat in parallel to the field winding. By doing this, some of the current you are bypassing, or you are diverting to the rheostat. By doing this, you are going to change the direction of the field current. By changing the field current direction, you are going to change ISC value. If you change the ISC value, no doubt you are going to change the flux pi value. If flux pi changes, no doubt finally speed of the DC motor changes, DC series motor. Okay, you can see in this method, the series field winding is shunted by a variable resistance Rx. So here, this is the series field winding of the motor. This is the series field winding of the motor. So what for this series field winding RSC, we are going to connect one extra resistance in parallel, which is having the value Rx. And this Rx, it is known as what? Field diverter. It is known as field diverter because it is going to divert the current that is flowing through the field winding. The arrangement is shown in figure 1.19.1a. So this is the circuit diagram for that. Now, due to the parallel path of Rx, by adjusting the value of Rx, any amount of current can be diverted through the diverter. So if you change the value of this Rx by sliding this pointer, then any amount of the current can be made to divert from RSC to the Rx. If I divert the current from RSC to RX by changing the value of this RX, means it is a rheostat, then automatically current that is flowing through the field winding ISC changes. If ISC changes, then flux pi changes. If flux pi changes, then speed of the DC series motor changes. Hence, current through the field winding can be adjusted as per the requirement. So, by sliding this rheostat, which is connected in parallel with the field winding, you can control the current through the field winding. By doing that, you can get any amount of the speed value, whatever you want. That is the meaning. Due to this, flux gets controlled and hence speed of the motor gets controlled. So because of doing this, ISC gets controlled, then flux gets controlled. This is how it is going to control the speed of the DC series motor. Okay, this is the circuit diagram for field diverter method, and then this is the speed characteristics. So the speed characteristics is what here?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sorry for the disturbance. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Fine. Yes. So this is the speed versus current characteristics. So as I keep on increasing the current, then speed is what? Initially, if there is no load, then armature current is less. If armature current is less, then ISC will be less, because in the series motor, IA is equal to ISC. If IA is less, means load is less, then IA will be less. If IA is less, means ISC is less, because IA is equal to ISC in the case of series motor. If ISC is less, then what about the flux?
Flux also less.
Flux will be less, but what about the speed? Flux is inversely proportional to the speed. So you will be getting maximum speed in the beginning. So this curve is nothing but the rectangular hyperbola characteristics, means inverse speed is inversely proportional to the flux. So this is, you can see three curves here. So this is for the first speed curve without adding Rx, So if you add this Rx by sliding this pointer here, then speed curve changes to this point. Then again, if you further add the resistance, then speed changes to this point. So this is how you can change the speed of the motor by controlling the field current. That is the meaning, right? And this method is called as field diverter method, which is a part of flux control. So here we are controlling the flux itself. Okay. Then coming to the second method. Second method is what? Armature diverter method. In the first case, we have seen we have diverted the field, and now here we are going to divert the armature. So if we are diverting the armature, means you need to connect one rheostat in parallel with the armature. So this is the armature circuit. This is the armature. To this armature, connect one rheostat in parallel to the armature, and this is the point slider. So as you keep on changing the slider here, then what happens? Automatically, current that is flowing through the what?
Armature.
Armature will be changing. If current through the armature is changing, then automatically in case of series motor, IA is equal to ISC. If IA changes, then ISC changes. If ISC changes, then flux changes. And if flux changes, what happens?
EMF will be induced.
This is how you are going to change. If flux changes, then after that, speed of the motor will be changing. So this is how you can change the speed of the motor by diverting the armature. So this method is used for the motor which requires constant load torque. And here, this is the requirement when we want constant load torque. So the torque should not change. Whatever may be the load, but torque should remain constant. Force of the motor should remain constant. An armature of the motor is shunted with an external variable resistance Rx. So here armature, it is connected in parallel with the Rx resistance as shown in figure 1.19.2. This resistance Rx is called armature diverter. So now, since it is diverting the current that is flowing through the armature, because of that reason, we call this as what? Armature diverter. Earlier it was field diverter because there it is diverting the current that is flowing through the field winding, but now this rheostat, it is diverting the current that is flowing through the armature. Because of that, we say this one as armature diverter. Okay. Then any amount of armature current can be diverted through the diverter. So since it is a resistance means you can change the direction of the armature current from this point till to the diverter to any value. Due to this, armature current reduces. So if it is not flowing in this direction, if it is going to divert on the other way, then automatically current received by the armature will be decreasing. Current received by the armature will be decreasing. Okay, you can see here. Any amount of armature current can be diverted through the diverter. Due to this, armature current reduces. But as torque is directly proportional to pi into Ia and load torque is constant, the flux is also increased. So here in this case, load torque is constant. This torque is constant, and if Ia decreases, then automatically, if Ia is decreasing because of this diverter, then which parameter will increase? This torque is constant, load torque is constant. Because of the diversion of the armature current, Ia is also decreasing, then automatically, which parameter will increase? Flux will increase. If flux increases, but how that flux is proportional, it is related to the speed.
Decreases.
Inverse.
Inversely proportional. So here in this case, flux is increasing. If flux increases, then automatically speed
Decreases.
decreases. So because it is inversely proportional. So the flux is increased. So the motor reacts by drawing more current from the supply. Since in order to maintain the constant load torque, then motor will draw more amount of the current from the power supply. So current through the field winding increases. So flux increases. So in order to support that load, motor will draw more amount of the current. And so because of that, more amount of the flux will be increased. Flux will be keeps on increasing. And what about the speed now? Flux increases, automatically speed of the motor reduces. This method is used to control the speed below the normal value. So this method is usually used in order to get the speed value less than the rated RPM. Less than the rated RPM. But no doubt, but it is also a part of your flux control method only. Are you getting? This method, it gives you the speed value more than rated RPM, but here by diverting the armature current, less armature current is available. Because of that, flux decreases. If flux decreases, then automatically speed of the motor, sorry, not flux decreases. Armature current decreases, flux increases, automatically speed will decrease. So this method, it is used to get the speed of the DC series motor less than the rated RPM value. Okay. Then comes the next method in case of what is that? Flux control method only. So that method we call it as tapped field method. And this is the circuit diagram. So tapped field means what? Just to see the field winding, how it is. How it is connected. In this method, flux
In
is
series.
okay. Winding, it is DC series motor only. But what is the configuration of this winding? Is it continuous winding? Like how we draw in this way?
No, sir.
Is it in this way? Is it in this way?
No, sir.
Or else it is in this way? Second type, yes or no?
Second one.
So as the name says, tapped field. So here, in order, we know that field winding uses the flux, and here I want to change the flux. So there are many methods to change the flux value. So out of that, the next method is tapped field method. So tapped field method means here this is the DC series motor and this is the field winding. But now this field winding, it is having certain tappings. So this is tap number 1, tap number 2, tap number 3, tap number 4, so on up to any number of tappings. So now here you need to have select the which tapping you want. So if I select the switch at tapping number 1, then what happens? Then whole winding will be included. If whole winding will be included, then what is the flux? Flux will be more or less. Here number of turns we are changing. One thing, flux is equal to what? Number of turns into current, N into I, yes or no?
Yes, sir.
So here we are not changing the current. Here we are changing number of turns in this method. To get the flux or to alter the flux, we are changing the number of turns. Number of turns means what? Tappings we are using here. If I connect the switch at position number 1, then whole winding will come into picture. So the number of turns will be more. If more the number of turns, more will be the
Flux.
flux. If I move this switch to the tapping number 2, the number of turns will be decreasing. Similarly, if I move to the tapping number 3, then flux will be decreasing. So here this tapping, it will help us to include more or less number of the turns of the field winding, and proportionally more or less flux will be available to us. So that change in the flux, it will give us the change in the speed of the DC series motor. Now let us see the explanation here. In this method, the flux change is achieved by changing the number of turns of the field winding. So these are the number of turns. This we are changing. The field winding is provided with the taps as shown in figure 1.19.3. So here the field winding, it is provided with many number of tappings and turns. Then the selector switch S is provided. So here this is the selector switch S, which can be connected to the tap number 1, 2, or 3, or 4. Any number of, at any position you can connect. Based on that, you will be including those many number of turns, and that much amount of flux will be available, and that much amount of flux will provide certain amount of the speed for the DC series motor. Okay. The selector switch S is provided to select the number of turns or the taps as per the requirement. When the switch S is in the position 1, so suppose if the switch S is connected to the position number 1, then what happens? Then the entire field winding is in the circuit. So whole winding will come into picture now. Okay. Then whole winding will come into picture. Then now let us hear. Then the entire winding in the circuit and the motor runs with normal speed. So if I include all that number of turns, then motor will be running at a normal speed. Means this is the flux that is required for the normal speed. These many number of turns will give normal flux value, which is responsible for giving normal speed of the motor. Okay. Then as switch is moved from position 1 to position 2, from position 1, if I move the switch to the position number 2, then what about the number of turns? Are they going to increase or decrease now?
Decrease, sir.
So number of turns will be keep on decreasing when I move the switch from position number 2, then to the position number 3, and so on. Okay. The number of turns of the field winding in the circuit keeps on decreasing. So if number of turns keeps on decreasing, then what about the flux?
Decreases, sir.
Flux will be decreasing. So the number of turns on the field winding decreases. Due to this, MMF required to flux also decreases, because number of turns decreases means no doubt you are going to decrease the flux value here. If flux decreases, then what about the speed? How it is related? So speed will be increasing inversely proportional. If the flux decreases, then automatically speed will be accelerated. Due to this, flux produced decreases, increasing the speed of the motor above rated value. So this is used to get the speed of the motor for above rated value. And where do you find such kind of application? Means this method is often used in electric traction. So in electrical trains and all, we are going to make use of this method to control the speed of DC series motor. Okay. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay, fine. Then comes the series parallel connection in of field winding. So this is also part of the flux control method only. Here, field winding, it is connected. It is divided into two sections. The same entire field winding, it is divided into two half section. And here, if I connect those two half section field winding in this way, then it is a series connection. If I connect the two half section field winding in parallel, then it is the parallel connection. Right. So what happens if the field winding is connected in series? What happens if the field winding is connected in parallel? Usually in the parallel case, if I connect the field winding in parallel fashion, then automatically the net flux will be decreasing. The net flux will be decreasing in the case of parallel circuit. Because of that, if flux decreases, then automatically speed will be increasing, because speed is inversely proportional to the flux. Okay, now let us see the explanation here. In this method, the field coil is divided to various parts. So usually here it is divided to various parts, but for our explanation purpose and all, we have shown only that field winding is divided to two half section. Okay, these parts can be then connected in series or parallel as per the requirements. So the divided whatever field winding we have divided, it is connected either in the series or in the parallel fashion as shown in figure 1.19.4a as well as b. The two parts of the field coil connected in series and parallel. So they are connected in series and parallel. Okay. For the same torque, if you want same torque value, if the field coil is arranged in series or parallel, so if I want the load torque to be constant or the same, then if I connect the coils either in series or in the parallel, then what happens? MMF for the flux produced by the coil changes. So if I connect the coils in series, then it is going to give me the certain amount of the current. Then a certain amount of the current will give me the certain amount of the flux. Similarly, if I connect the windings in parallel fashion, the current will be of some value, and belonging to that, the flux will be of some value, and that flux it is going to give us some particular amount of the speed. That okay. Hence, the speed of the motor can be controlled. But what is the a disadvantage part you can see here is that some fixed speeds only can be obtained by this method. So here you cannot change the speed of the motor, because if I connect the motor in the series, the windings in the series fashion, then this series combination will give me the particular amount of speed only. If I want some other speed, then it is not possible. Similarly, parallel fashion field winding, if it is connected in parallel fashion, then it is going to give us some particular amount of speed only. If I want some other speed, then you cannot alter it. That is a drawback here. Only some fixed value of the speed you are going to get out of this configuration. Some fixed speeds only can be obtained by this method. In parallel grouping, the MMF produced decreases. As I told you in the beginning, in the parallel circuits, the MMF or the flux decreases. Because of that, higher speed can be obtained, because if flux decreases, then automatically speed increases, inversely proportional. So hence higher speed can be obtained by parallel grouping. This method is generally used in case of fan motors. In industries, you are running some large amount of the large rating fans for cooling purpose and all, and in order to run those fans, it is having the motors, and those motors it will be made to run by using the parallel grouping of the motor field winding. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
it means that the first method is flux control method. Again, in that flux control method, there are four methods to change the flux. First one is field diverter method. Second one is armature diverter method. Then comes a tapped field method. And fourth one is series parallel connection of the field. So all these four are the part of the flux control method. So here you can get the speed above rated RPM or below rated RPM. If it is armature diverter method, then you will be getting speed below rated RPM. If it is field diverter method, you will be getting the speed above rated RPM. Similarly, for the parallel combination, above rated RPM. And here in this case, you will be getting the speed above rated RPM, because if I include the switch position, switch at position number 1, then entire winding will be included. Because of that, you will be getting maximum speed, rated speed. Then as you keep on moving the switch from position 2, 3, 4 like that, then number of turns will be keeps on decreasing. Then flux will be keeps on decreasing. If flux decreases, then automatically speed will increase. So usually your armature diverter method will give the speed value less than the rated RPM, and rest of the methods they will give us the speed more than the rated value. This is the conclusion. Now let us see the next part. The next part is what? Armature voltage control method. Armature voltage control method means what? That is the other name for that is the rheostatic control. Rheostatic control. So armature voltage, how it will be controlled? Let us see here. So this is the armature of the DC series motor. So in order to control the speed, what is that? Armature voltage. Here we are going to make use of one rheostat, which is going to control the current through the field through the armature here. Now let us see. In this method, a variable resistance Rx is inserted in series with the motor circuit. So here this Rx, it is connected in series with the motor circuit. Okay. As this resistance is inserted, the voltage drop across this resistance IA into Rx occurs. So because of the addition of extra resistance Rx in series with the motor, then drop will take place. That drop will be what? IA into Rx. IA into Rx drop, it will take place. Okay. This reduces the voltage across the armature. So if there is a drop because of IA into Rx and voltage applied to the motor is what here? What is the voltage applied?
V.
V is the voltage applied. Suppose if I say that V is 220 volts, suppose if I say V is 220 volts, and if the motor, the drop because of this IA into Rx is, say for example, IA Rx drop is 20 volts, then how much is the voltage available for the motor now? If this IA Rx is say 20 volts, then what is the voltage available to this motor?
200 volts.
220, 220 minus 20. So now applied voltage is 220, but voltage available to this motor is 200. Then what is the speed now? Speed, we say that speed is equation is governed by what? EV by pi. Yes, speed equation is EV by pi. But now here we are going to change this armature voltage here. So here in this case, voltage, uh, armature voltage means you need to concentrate on the numerator part. Keep this flux constant. Don't change the flux now. This you keep it constant. So EB for the series motor is given by what? V minus IA, IA into RA, along with that
Plus
what? Plus
RX.
RX. Along with Rx, there is a term called as RSC also it will come. Why? Because all they are in series. There is a drop because of RSC, there is a drop because of RA already. In addition to that, I have added what? Extra resistance Rx in series with the armature. Because of all this, now the voltage will be what? Now this is my EB, back EMF equation EB. So EB turns to be V minus IA into RA plus RX plus RAC. So this much amount of the voltage now it is available. So now EB I can replace by the equation V minus IA into RA plus RX plus RAC. So now as the voltage available to the motor is how much now? Simply it is 200 minus rest of the things. So now I can say that your speed N is directly proportional to EB by pi, but EB it is decreasing because of Rx here. So if this drop is more, if this drop is more, then what about this drop? This drop it is getting deducted from applied voltage. Yes or no? Then what about the total voltage? Total voltage will be
Decreasing.
decreasing. If total voltage is decreasing, then what about EB?
Decreasing.
If EB decreases, then what about the speed?
Decreases.
Decreases. So this is how, by using the rheostatic control, you are going to control the speed of the speed of the DC series motor, that too for getting speed value less than the rated RPM. Okay, now let us see here. In this method, a variable resistance Rx is inserted in series with the motor circuit. As this resistance is inserted, the voltage drop across this resistance I into Rx occurs. So here drop will take place. This reduces the voltage across the armature. As I told you, now because of this drop, voltage available to this motor will be reducing. This input minus all this drop, that will be some voltage which is less than the applied voltage. As speed is directly proportional to the voltage across the armature, and the speed reduces. So speed is directly proportional to EB. So EB is what? All these things. So if all these things is getting reduced, then no doubt EB will reduce. If EB reduces, then proportionally speed is also going to be reduced. So because of that, speed reduces. The arrangement is shown in figure 1.19.5a. So this is a circuit diagram for that. As entire current passes through the Rx, there is large power loss. So here, since the motor it is series, and that too here Rx it is going to carry the large current. So if it is going to carry large current, what will be the copper loss now? Copper loss is I square R loss. So IA square into Rx loss will be more. More amount of the power gets wasted across this rheostat. Because of that, unnecessary power loss will take place. Unnecessary heating of the motor will take place. Then the speed armature current characteristics with change in Rx. So here, with the change in the current, how the speed will change. So this is nothing but speed versus current characteristics. So how that speed will be altered with the help of adding the rheostat. So this is the first curve with Rx. If I add Rx, then I'm going to get this speed curve. If I don't add Rx, then I'm going to get this speed curve. So this is how you can change the speed of the motor by adding extra resistance in series with the motor circuit. Is it clear? And this method will give us the speed of the DC series motor less than rated RPM. Is it okay?
Yes, sir.
This is the second main concept. Then comes the third one. The third one is applied voltage control method, because N is directly proportional to EB by pi. Because N is directly proportional to EB by pi, and if we say that drop because of IA into RA plus RAC is if it is small, then in that case I can say that N is directly proportional to V by pi, provided EB is almost equal to approximated to V. If EB is approximated to V, then in that case applied voltage, if I change, then proportionally speed we are going to change. So in order to change the applied voltage, so this is the motor whose speed we need to control, and input to this motor is what? This is DC series motor. Input to this motor, from where we are getting? Motor input means what? Electrical input should be there, and that electrical input we are going to get it from this generator. We are going to get it from this generator, which gives us the electrical input. Okay, and now this motor, which is getting the input from this generator, and if you see the generator field winding, it is having one rheostat in parallel with the generator field. What it will do? If I connect one rheostat in parallel with this generator field winding, so which parameter will be getting changed here?
Current, sir.
IG, sir.
Flux.
See here, once again, this generator wants some mechanical input. There is a mechanical prime mover. Mechanical prime mover, it will drive the generator. This generator will give electrical output, which is going to act as an input to this motor, DC series motor, whose speed we need to control. But here the title is applied voltage control method. So if I change the voltage, then proportionally I am going to change the what? Speed of the motor. So now in order to change the voltage, here what we are doing is that the input to this motor is what? Electrical. That input we are getting from the generator, and see that this generator's field winding, it is connected in parallel with the rheostat. So if I change the Rx value here, proportionally field current will change. Yes or no? Field current will change. If field current changes, then which parameter will change?
Flux.
Flux will change. Okay, but for the DC, but for the generator, EB is directly proportional to what? Generator. EG equation is also same as that of the EB equation. What is my EB equation? P pi NZ by
60A.
60A. So here, if I change the value of the flux by changing the rheostatic value, then ISC will be changing. ISC. If ISC changes, then flux changes. Yes or no? So if flux changes, so if you check this equation, number of poles P is constant, speed, if you maintain it constant, then conductors are constant, 60A, everything is constant. Then EG, or the voltage to the motor, this whatever EG generated voltage will be there, that is nothing but input to the motor. That is nothing but the voltage V. This V is nothing but what here? V, EG itself is the V. Whatever it is, we are generating the voltage from the generator, that will be acting as an input to this motor now. That is nothing but applied voltage control method. So if I change the value of ISC, then we are going to change the value of pi. So here I can say that EG is directly proportional to what?
Pi.
Pi. So now if I change the value of the pi by changing this Rx value by changing ISC, then you are going to change what?
EG value.
EG value. If EG changes, that is nothing but the variable voltage. If I keep on changing the value of Rx here, then pi changes, ISC changes, and proportionally voltage will be keeps on changing to the motor. If voltage is keeps on changing to the motor, then what happens? If voltage is changing, then speed is also going to be changed. Yes or no? This is the concept here. Okay, let us see now. In this method, a series motor is excited by a voltage obtained by the series generator. So here, this series motor, it is excited from the series generator. Okay, as shown in figure 1.19.6. Then the generator is driven by a suitable prime mover. So once again, for the generator, you want some mechanical input. So for that purpose, we are using one prime mover. So this is the prime mover which is going to drive the generator. Then the voltage obtained from the generator is controlled by a field diverter resistance connected across the series field winding of the generator. So whatever voltage this generator is giving, the voltage generated by this generator, it is controlled by connecting one rheostat in series in parallel with the field winding. By doing this, you are going to change ISC value. If ISC changes, then flux phi will change. If flux changes, then automatically voltage will change, because EG is directly proportional to pi, and this voltage is nothing but the input to the motor. If V changes, then speed of the motor will change. Okay. And the voltage obtained from the generator is controlled by a field diverter resistance connected across the series field winding of the generator. That is what we have seen now. Then, as EG is directly proportional to pi, flux is the change in the flux is achieved. This gives the variable voltage at the output terminals. If flux changes, then automatically EG changes. Then EG changes, then input V to the motor will change. Due to the change in the supply voltage, the various speeds of the DC motor can be achieved. So for different values of the voltage, we are going to get different speed for the DC series motor. Okay. Note that all the advantages and disadvantages of various methods discussed applied to the shunt motor are equally applicable to the speed control of DC series motor also. So whatever the advantages and disadvantages we have seen for the speed control of DC shunt motor, the same will be there for even speed control of DC series motor. That is the meaning. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
So these are the speed controlling methods for DC series motor. The first one is flux control method. Again, in that flux control method, there are four types. One is field diverter method. Second one is armature diverter method. Third one is tapped field method. Then fourth one is series parallel connection of the field. So all these four will fall under the category of flux control method. Then comes the second one, rheostatic control. That is as good as your armature voltage control. Then comes applied voltage control. So these are the various methods to get the variable speed for DC series motor. So this, in the final exam, they may ask speed controlling method for either DC shunt motor, or they may ask it for DC series motor. Whatever the type of motor it will be asked, you need to explain for that particular motor. Is it clear?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, now we'll solve one problem here, and all these problems are very important. So whatever problems I have shared for you in the WhatsApp group PDF, just you solve all those problems. Okay. But before going to solve the problems, I would like to explain for one more concept. Shall I solve the problem now? Let us solve the problem and then we'll move to the next concept. I request to all the students to note down this problem. A 200 volts, or you just pay attention. Anyhow, I have shared the notes. You can practice later on. You just try to follow the methodology, how to solve the problem. A 200 volt DC motor, DC series motor, drives a load at a certain speed. So here input to the DC series motor. So this is the DC series motor where armature and series field winding, they are connected in series fashion, and input to the motor is 200 volts. 200 volt DC series motor drives a load at a certain speed. So it is going to drive the load at certain speed and takes a current of 30 amperes. So it is going to take 30 ampere to drive that particular amount of load. Then the resistance between its terminal is 1.5 ohms. So the resistance between its terminal is 1.5 ohms. So RA and RX, the whole resistance, it is given as 1.5 ohms here. Okay. Find the extra resistance to be added in series with the motor circuit to reduce the speed to 60% of its original value. Initially, it is running at some certain speed, and to that certain speed, if further I want to reduce its speed to 60% of the previous one, then how much amount of the resistance we need to include? We need to include that you should calculate here. Okay, that you should calculate. Assume that the torque produced is proportional to the cube of the speed. So here, the assumption what they have told is we need to consider torque is directly proportional to cube of the speed. It means that I should consider T is directly proportional to N cube. This condition I have to consider and I should solve the problem. Torque is directly proportional to cube of the speed. Torque is directly proportional to N cube. Okay. Now let us see the circuit diagram. So this is a circuit diagram for the DC series motor. This is a series field winding and this is the extra resistance what we have added to reduce the speed from normal value to the 60% of the normal value. And this is the second armature current to reduce the speed, and input applied will be 200 volts. And this is the armature resistance Ri value. Okay. Given things is what? V is 200 volts. Initial armature current for normal speed value is IA1 equal to 30 ampere. Okay. Now let us calculate the total resistance. Resistance across the terminal Ra plus Rac. Ra plus Rac is this value. Ra plus Rac. Resistance across the terminal is how much now? 1.5 ohms. 1.5 ohms. Ra armature resistance and field winding resistance is 1.5 ohms. And now, if I want to reduce the speed from earlier value to the 60% of the earlier value, then we are going to add certain resistance. So that resistance value is Rx, which is unknown and yet to be calculated. Okay. EB1 is equal to what? For the series motor, V minus IA1 into Ra plus Rac, because this is that back EMF when we have not added any resistance Rx. Rx we have not included. Okay, so EB1 is equal to, what is V value here? Input is 200, IA1 is 30, then Ra plus Rac, that is 1.5. So this back EMF EB1 is 155 volts. 155 volts. Now comes what? The second speed. Initial speed is N1, then the second speed is N2. So that N2, how it should be as per the given condition?
60% of N1.
Reduced to the value of 60% of the original value. If original value speed is N1, then the second reduced speed is N2, whose value is 60% of the original value. So N2, now the second speed is 60% of the original value, that is N1. So that is N2 is equal to 0.6 times of N1, 60% of N1. Okay. So from this, now if you rearrange the equation, then it becomes what? N1 by N2. N1 by N2, it becomes what?
1 by 0.6.
1 by 0.6. 1 by 0.6. And we know that for the torque equation, the well-known torque equation for the DC motors is what? Torque is directly proportional to pi into Ia. Pi into Ia. This is the well-known equation. But in the case of series motor, Ia is equal to Isc. Yes or no? Ia is equal to Isc is equal to IL. Because of that, your pi, which is because of Isc, and Ia is also equal to Isc. Then I can write torque is directly proportional to what?
Ia square.
Ia square, because the reason is flux is directly proportional to Ia. Flux is directly proportional to Ia. So now in place of flux pi, we are going to replace it by Ia. So torque becomes directly proportional to Ia square. So torque becomes directly proportional to Ia square. So the initial torque, if I take it as T1 and corresponding armature current is Ia1 square. Similarly, the second torque for the reduced speed of 60%, then second corresponding torque will be taken as T2 and corresponding armature current is Ia2 whole square. T1 Ia1 square, T2 Ia2 square. T1 for initial speed N1, T2 for the new speed N2. This is the corresponding armature current. But here in the problem statement, they have given the condition to assume torque is directly proportional to Q of the speed. T is directly proportional to N cube. Then that is T is directly proportional to N cube they have given. So based on this, now I can write it as T1 directly proportional to N1 cube. Similarly, T2 directly proportional to N2 cube. Yes or no? This is given condition. For first speed, torque is T1 and for second speed, torque is T2. So then, as per this given condition, the equation turns to be T1 by T2 equal to N1 by N2 whole cube. But what is my N1 by N2 value?
1 by 0.6.
1 upon 0.6. So then it is placed N1 by N2 as 1 upon 0.6 whole square. Call this as equation 2, and earlier T1 by T2 equal to IA1 by IA2 whole square. Call this as equation number 1. Then what happens if you check equation 1 and equation 2? LHS side is what?
T1 by T2.
Here LHS is T1 by T2. In equation 2, here also it is T1 by T2. In that case, on comparing equation 1 and 2, we can say that these two equations can be equated. They can be equal, yes or no? So T1 by T2 equal to T1 by T2 equal to IA1 by IA2 whole square, that is equal to 1 upon 0.2 whole cube. Then it becomes what? 1 upon 0.6 whole cube, that is equal to IA1 by IA2 whole square. Do you agree?
Yes, sir.
Because both equation 1 and 2, their LHS side is T1 by T2 only. Then in that case, we can equate both the equations. So equation turns to be 1 upon 0.6 whole cube, that is equal to IA1 by IA2. Since IA1 value, that is, this is the armature current corresponding to the initial speed N1, that it is already given to us in the problem statement as 30 amperes. So 30 by IA2 whole square. So if you solve for this, then you will be getting second armature current for the speed of 60% less than that of the original value. So IA2 is how much? If you solve it, 13.9427 ampere. 13.9427 ampere. So this is the second armature current when speed has been reduced to 60% of the original value. Then comes what? Second back EMF. What is the second back EMF? When do you get? After adding the
When we add RX.
get very good. When we add RX to reduce the speed to 60%. So your EB2 will be equal to what? V minus IA2 into RA plus RSC. This is already there. In addition to that, we are adding RX value. So then V is given 200, IA2 is 13.9427, just now we have seen. Then RA plus RSC is 1.5, RX is unknown. So what is the EB2 value here? EB2 is this whole thing. Okay, then we are going to make use of the speed equation. What is the speed equation? N is directly proportional to EB by pi. But in the case of series motor, IA is equal to ISC, then flux becomes what?
I.
This can be, flux becomes IA. So N is directly proportional to EB by IA. Okay, now catch this equation now. N equal to EB by IA. So using this equation, now you write N1 equal to EB1 by IA1. N1 is equal to EB1 by IA1. N1 equal to EB1 by IA1. Are you getting? Similarly,
Yes.
second speed, N2 equal to what? EB2. N2 equal to EB2 by IA2. Is it clear? N2 equal to EB2 by IA2. So we know that N1 by N2 ratio, it is what? Already we have seen 1 upon 0.6. EB1 is 155. EB2 is unknown. IA2 is 13.9427. IA1 is 30. So everything is known, but only unknown is EB2. So if you solve this equation, EB2 value is 43.22 volts. EB2 is 43.22 volts. So here I will take now this as 43.22 volts in equation number 3. So here we have found the value for even EB2 also. So EB2 is known, 200, 13.9427, everything is known. What is unknown from the equation number 3 now?
RX.
RX, only RX is unknown. So it is very simple to calculate RX value from this equation number 3. So if you solve this equation number 3, then the unknown RX is going to be how much? Solve that equation 3, then RX turns to be 9.745 ohms. 9.745 ohms. So initially, if it is 100 RPM, if I want to reduce that 100 RPM to 60% means 60 RPM. If I want to bring that machine motor speed to 16 RPM, then extra resistance added is of the value 9.745 RPM. Is it clear, all of you? So this value of Rx should be 9.745 ohms. It should be 9.745 ohms. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Similarly, there are many other problems given in the book here. Can you solve?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
In some of the problems, they may give torque is directly proportional to speed, or in some of the problems, they say torque is directly proportional to square of the speed. In some problems, torque is directly proportional to cube of the speed. So, based on the given problem condition, you need to catch that condition and accordingly you should solve it. Here you can see torque is directly proportional to I square, torque is directly proportional to n square. Such type of problems you can get it. So yeah, anyhow, I have explained one problem now. So using that methodology only, you can solve the remaining problems. If you get any doubts, you can ask me. Fine. Yes.
Yes, sir.
Now the next type of speed control method, one more is Ward-Leonard method. Though it is not there for your syllabus, but you should know what is this Ward-Leonard system of speed control. So here, this motor M1, it is that motor whose speed has to be controlled. So it is there for your senior, what is that, senior syllabus earlier, but now for your syllabus, this Ward-Leonard system of speed control is removed from the syllabus, and also your seniors, they are supposed to conduct the experiment in the laboratory, but now this portion is excluded for you people. You can see here there are three machines. Out of that, motor M2, motor M1, one more is generator. So out of these three, M1 is the motor whose speed we should control it. Okay, M1 is the motor whose speed has to be controlled, but to control this motor speed, we are going to make use of one motor and generator set, where the motor's field winding is directly connected to the DC power supply. So this is the DC power supply line plus minus. So the field winding of the motor whose speed has to be controlled, that is M1, its field winding is directly coupled to the DC supply via the switchgear. And armature of the motor M1 whose speed has to be controlled, it will be connected to the armature of the generator. It will be connected to the armature of the generator, whereas generator's field winding, it is connected in parallel with the some potential divider via the switchgear directly to the power supply lines. So this switchgear, it will help us to change the polarity of the generated voltage. So if I throw the switch on the one side, the polarity of the voltage will be of one polarity. If I change the voltage in the other case, then the polarity of the generated voltage will be generated voltage of the generator will be keeps on changing. So if that polarity will be changing, if polarity of the armature of the generator is changing, then that such voltage only we are feeding it to the motor armature here. Yes or no? And because of that, direction of the motor will be changing. If motor if generated voltage is having positive polarity, then motor may run in one direction when switch is thrown on one particular side. Similarly, if switchgear is thrown on the other side, then field direction changes. Then proportionally generated armature voltage polarity will change, and proportionally speed direction of the motor will be changing. So you can control the speed of the motor in both the direction. That too, fine tuning is possible here. Fine tuning of the speed is possible by making use of this Ward-Leonard method. So again, in order to drive this generator, you want certain mechanical input, and to get that mechanical input, you are going to make use of motor. You are going to make use of motor. So this motor, it will be once again connected to the same DC power supply line via the switch gear, and this it is having the field winding. So this motor, it gives electrical input, sorry, mechanical output to the generator. Motor, it gives mechanical output to the generator, and generator's field winding, it is having certain diverter in order to change the flux. If flux changes, then voltage changes, And in order to change the polarity, you are going to make use of switch gear. If I throw the switch on one particular side, then polarity of the field winding will change. And if polarity of the if field winding connection changes, then automatically polarity of the armature voltage will change. And depending upon that, motor will run in one particular speed. Similarly, if I change the switch on to the other position, then automatically field winding connection gets changed. Because of that, direction of the motor will be getting reversed. So here what we are doing, actually here we are going to make use of flux control method as well as armature voltage control method. So flux control, by doing this, we are going to generate the voltage, and this voltage, whatever it is generated in the armature generator, that same thing we are going to feed it to the motor armature, and based on how much amount of voltage it is receiving, accordingly it is going to run at particular amount of speed. But see that this motor is made to run in both the direction very easily. And if you see the circuit diagram here, just to control the speed of motor M1, how many machines you are using here? One generator and another motor M2. Is it good thing?
No, sir.
No.
No,
Why?
sir.
Because just to control one simple M1 motor, you are going to make use of two extra expensive machines, that is generator and motor. That is the drawback of this speed controlling method. But this method uses fine speed controlling method, and this will be used in the industries. But the only disadvantage of this method is that just to control the speed of motor M1, we are in the requirement of some more extra machines whose cost is expensive. That is the meaning. Okay. So usually in the present days, what we are doing, in order to get the variable voltage from the generator, this thing is completely replaced by the SCR, that is silicon controlled rectifier, which is nothing but the semiconductor power electronic device. That's silicon controlled rectifier SCR. It is going to give us the variable voltage, and that variable voltage we are going to feed it to the motor armature. And with that variable voltage, whichever we are getting from the SCR, depending upon that, motor speed will be changing. So that method is very economical in comparison with the motor generator if we take. So this is all about Ward-Leonard system of speed control. But now this method, it is not there for you in your syllabus, but just you should have the knowledge of this Ward-Leonard speed control of DC shunt motor. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Its advantages and disadvantages, you can see wide range of speed control is possible, smooth speed control is possible, speed can be controlled in both the directions of rotation, then motor runs with uniform acceleration, it has inherent regenerative braking capacity. Regenerative braking capacity means motor can be made to act as a generator or generator back to the motor, and you can stop at any position. So that is all about regenerative braking capacity. Then comes what? Good speed regulation. So drop in the speed is small here, but disadvantage, high initial cost due to two extra machines. So just to control one single machine, you want another two machines. Because of that, it is not good thing. It is costlier. Overall efficiency is low, because since we are using more number of machines here, so losses will be more, efficiency will be reducing. Then frequent maintenance is required, so it requires large maintenance. Then more floor area is necessary, and foundation is costly. So machines weight and size is large. Because of that, for installation and mounting purpose, you want large floor area, and it requires large foundation. So all these are expensive and costly. Is it clear, all of you?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
so for whatever the speed controlling methods for DC shunt motor, DC series motor, I have explained in the previous class and today's class. So all of you go through those methods and solve the problems whichever I have discussed. So already these problems I have shared to you, and I have explained you the methods, how to approach to those problems. Just to practice all those problems. If you get any notes, you can ask me. And in the next class, we'll discuss for necessity of starter.